partner with each other. We're standing here today on the unceded homelands of the Amijosh, past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land, waterways, and people who steward this land for generations. We also stand here in acknowledgement of the inextricability of the violence of settler colonialism, police brutality, white supremacy, and the violence against our earth. And so in that spirit, I would like to invite everybody to pray for the souls of George Floyd, Adam Toledo, and Dante Wright. May they rest in peace and power, and for their families to experience strength and peace in the midst of tragedy. Let us pray. Amen. All right, I'm going to pass the mic off to Solange.
Thank you for passing the mic to some people at the beginning, and so now we pass it to Rachel.
It's Solange. Also, this poem was found by Solange, so many credits to her, and she's been a big part of putting this night on. But yeah, this poem is called Letter to Noah's Wife. It's by Samantha Palermo. You were never mentioned on RRI or elsewhere, but I know a woman's hand in salvation when I see it. Lately, I'm torn between despair and ignorance. I'm not vegetarian, shop plaster, using air conditioner. Is this what happens before it all goes fluvial? Do the selfish grow self-conscious by the withering convenience? Lately, I worry every black dress will have to be worn to a funeral. New York or Bouillon eroded filigree. Anything but illness, I beg the plagues, with shiny crows or nuclear rain. Not a drop in London, May through June. I bask in the wilt by golden hour light. Lately, only lately, it is sleep. Tugging our families into the safeties of the past. My children, will they exist by the time it's irreversible? Will they live astonished at the thought of ice not pulled from the mouth of the machine? Which parent will be the one to break the myth? The Arctic wasn't Sisyphus's snowy hill. Noah's wife, I am wringing my hands, not knowing how to know, and move forward. Was it you who gathered flowers once the earth had dried? How did you explain the light to all the animals? I think Solange will answer next.
Next up, we got Dave. We can do a couple of speech. So if everyone could please speak into the mic a little bit louder, that'd be really helpful, just for the audio recording. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much. My name is Gabe Canfield. I'm going to be telling a little bit of a story today. Over spring break, I connected with an elder relative who spoke to me about having an important relationship with the land. Sit for a second and imagine yourself staring out over the ocean, shoes in the coarse sand. This story, she told me, began with a man, a seafarer who visited the northern coastline frequently as a part of his routine. Before the Lockman word for settler society, before industrialization, before extraction, before one-way relationships with the land, there were just men and women in the coastline. Every day he would wave his arms into the air at the coastline and wait for the sea wolves or the orcas to respond, with fins in the air passing around the peninsula. He knew that every day the orcas passed by, there would be subsistence to be found in the waters. This ordinary interaction brings indigenous communities in connection with food systems, with kinship with the earth in a special way. But my elder, I call her my Esrong or my auntie, passes the story on as oral tradition in not lived experience. She recalls her family doing this until they did not reciprocate anymore. She speaks of the ocean with fervor, but knows that this story lives and dies with the ancestors, that it is her lifetime that has seen these drastic changes in the world. My lifelong experiences also involve the coastlines, overlooking the water, searching tide pools, and sharing foods and community in the outside world. Imagine this. On average, each drop of water in the ocean has spent 1,000 years cycling within the ocean. The same drop of water has spent hundreds of generations on the earth in those same tide pools, in estuaries, fisheries, in a water bottle of yours and your ancestors. There's something special and important about reflecting on the fact that you live, breathe, exist, eat, meditate in the same spaces as many before you. On this day, we all know that things look differently to us in the world. Tide pools are overrun with tourists, highways cut through forests, and these timeless old stories that we once knew are lost to change. But there are still orcas out there to wave at, there are still signs for us to look for, to speak to what we need to know. Our climate may be changing, but if we reciprocate, if we communicate, it might not be too late. Happy Earth Day, and thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandy Lockman, a 24 from Detroit. When I was asked to talk about a Jewish perspective on nature and earth, I was reminded of Amijosh I once learned that has stuck with me ever since. Amijosh is an ancient commentary on part of the Torah, the Jewish holy book, that offers a sort of behind the scenes to the text. This particular one offers insight into the relationship between humanity and nature. It adds detail to the creation story, revealing that one of the first things God said to humanity was, "Look at my works, how beautiful and praiseworthy they are. All that I created, it was for you that I created it. Pay attention that you do not corrupt and destroy my world. If you corrupt it, there is no one to repair it after you." This outlines one of the fundamental challenges we face as humans. The earth is here for us to use, but we must do so wisely and intentionally. There is a real tension between our authority to utilize nature and our duty to protect it. On the one hand, nature offers us sustenance, resources, and beauty, and we're meant to enjoy these benefits, as the earth is our life source and our home. Yet, a mindset focused on possession or ownership of nature is a dangerous one. We are not entitled to the land. It is a privilege to rely on the earth, and it's not a guarantee. And as climate change is showing us, nature does not offer a blank check. We have a duty to respect and conserve it, to act as stewards of our environment. The Midrash's words offer us a warning, a premonition of the destructive tendencies that have led us to where we are today. It tells us that things will not fix themselves, that no one else will remedy our problems. This may seem dark or even pessimistic, but really it imbues us with a vital purpose: to take action, take responsibility, and to protect the earth we were given.
Hello, my name is Valeria, and I will be kind of changing the tone a little bit. So firstly, I would like to ask everyone to stand, if that's okay? And I will be singing the song Like the Light Gets In. Firstly, it's kind of like a call and response. So I'll be singing a line, and then you'll be singing a direct after, and then there's like a clapping part, you can clap with me, or you can snap if you want to. And then all I really ask is that you keep the energy. It's kind of weird if I'm like yelling and you're just like, better. Forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring. Just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how light gets in. There we go. That's pretty much how it goes. And what was that part second? There is a perfect
Hello, my name is Evan. I've always loved the earth. As a kid, I would spend hours in my backyard staring at frogs and cooking with dirt and grass. I had fun. Nature was always right there when I needed it. When I got older and started paying more attention to what was happening around me, I grew aware of environmental issues. My town's lake was polluted by Duke Energy, and I experienced my life change as my family grew weary of the water that we had swam in the summer before. I watched the news and looked at Twitter, and every month was a new environmental crisis. Then it was every day. Now it seems like every hour. No crisis was more daunting than climate change. I looked at models, I saw the numbers, they weren't good. I worried about what my life would look like in 50 years, what my children's life would look like in 100. What world would they be living in? I told myself that I would study climate in college and spend my life learning about the science to make a change, to the earth that I had grown up loving and still loved. But science and numbers and facts, those aren't everything. I'm here not just to tell my story, but to tell the story of some of my friends. I went to Greenland in the summer of 2019 as part of a science program with students from Greenland and Denmark, with the intention of learning about polar science. Greenland is truly the most beautiful place I've ever seen. I've seen its green mountains and I've seen its ice sheets, and it's all so beautiful. I've learned a lot about climate change and how it's affecting the gorgeous island. Greenland is the spitting image of the effects of climate change, so what better place to learn? We looked at glaciers and soils and streams and talked about how they each could tell us about the climate and how it's changing. I remember one day we were walking towards an ice cap, and one of the teachers told us that the Greenland ice sheet that we were looking at could be gone in 800 years. The world as we know it would be changed forever. That has remained in my brain ever since. But like I said, numbers and facts aren't everything. In fact, they're not even the most valuable thing I gained. The most valuable aspect is the fact that I was able to talk to people who had been living in Greenland their whole lives. Being able to just talk with my new friends, have conversations with them, people that had grown up in Greenland, grown up with those climate changes that I was worried about. They told me about how the snow melted earlier and how they had to change their lives to adapt to all the other climate changes. They told me how their parents had to change their hunting patterns and even move for work. It's easy to worry about climate change when you're thinking about how it will affect us in 2050. But speaking to people, especially friends, about how they've had to change their whole lives and lost their jobs to climate change already personifies the issue. Just like we as humans are affecting the earth affects us. Greenland is not just a chunk of land that is good for studying climate. It's a beautiful island with 60,000 people, each with their own lives and histories and culture and family. Now apply that idea to the whole world because we're all being affected by climate change. The world is not just a series of systems that are being changed, but they're changing us, they're changing the way that we have to live our lives. Some people are being affected more than others, but we're all affected. Climate change is a real issue. It affects us today and it will continue to affect us until we start handling it. It's not sneaking up on us. It's not going to unexpectedly strike in a few decades. It's happening now. We see its effects with the intense hurricanes that have pounded the southeast coast of the United States and with the droughts that have burdened millions of people on the west coast. We saw it this year with the giant snowstorm in Texas, and we'll continue seeing these effects. We see changes in plant distributions and migratory patterns around the world. It's not an impending doom. Climate change is already here, and it will only get worse. So I tell you my stories, I tell you the stories that I've heard, and leave you with the question of how you will listen. How will you listen to the earth? How will you listen to each other people that have had their own experiences? Think about what you can do to help the earth, and then do it. Be the change that you want to see. Advocate for the earth. It's the least we can do.
Hello, I'm Amy, I'm 24, I shoot first. I would like to start by talking about the fact that us having this space is a privilege. Even if we don't realize that,
even if it's scary to be out here. I know for a fact that it is for me and for some of you already who have spoken. But at home, no one really has those conversations. I'm from Bulgaria, by the way, and I feel so lucky to be here, but I also can't help but be aware of the privilege I have to be here that a lot of people I know in my home country don't. And speaking of privilege, I've always thought about, why do I get to do some things that other people don't get to do? Why do I get to travel when other people don't get to do that? And I think part of that answer is, well, because both of your parents have stable jobs that can give you the things that you enjoy today. And speaking of parents, I would like to really talk about my dad. So I love my dad. That's not surprising. Well, he's the person I really looked up to when I was growing up. He was the one who would support me in any ridiculous thing I would want to do. He's the one who got me hiking. He's the one why I like the music that I like. He's been my role model for a really long time. And because of that, I really wanted to be like him in everything I do. So as I was growing up, I started asking questions. What do you do? What's your job? Do you like your job? Why do you like your job? Well, all of my life, my dad has worked for a power plant his official title is environmental engineer. I say that in quotation marks because mostly the work he does is useful, but it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference. In fact, we burn coal, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So thinking about the fact, well, he's my dad, I love him, he's a great person, but that's the work he does. But that's also the work that got me into a private high school. That's the work that gets me traveling. That's the work that got me here, standing on the stage. Because if it wasn't for that job, would I be able to afford to be here? No. So then I started thinking, well, am I not so guilty? I took advantage of the fact that my dad's work supports something that I don't necessarily morally stand behind. I also would like to acknowledge the fact that there are plenty of people that I know who mine coal on a daily basis, and I've seen the damage to their health, and I'm still here, and I still take advantage of that privilege. So then, the natural thing I would do is blame people. I would blame the system. I would blame the fact that no one in my government is doing anything to change this, to switch to renewable energy, or to give people an opportunity to have a better, healthier job. And that didn't really get me anywhere. So then I still felt guilty. I still feel guilty right now. But I was taught to be very open, very honest, which is why I'm saying that. So I think where I've come with all of this is that blaming people and blaming things, it's not really gonna get us anywhere. I think for me, I've tried to acknowledge the privilege that I have and sit with that guilt that I have, because it's true. You can't tell something is this way when it's really not. So if I have anything important to say, it's to encourage all of you to think about all the ways you have profited from something very tiny that has harmed someone else. Think about that and think about how can you use your voice. Because no matter where we come from, we all have some little privilege by the fact that we're sitting in this room. We have a voice. No matter how small or big you think the voice is, someone will listen because of the fact that you're sitting in this room. And you can make a change, maybe a small change, but still a change. And ultimately, that will matter. As long as we press people to do the right thing and we speak up whenever we feel like we should, something's gonna get better. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Samantha Palermo and I'm 24 here from Nebraska. Those of you who know me personally undoubtedly know that I spend a ridiculous amount of time outside. In fact, I even earned the nickname Park Ranger Sam during my first 2 weeks here at Dartmouth. And I spend so much time outside that a friend recently told me that I'm crunchier than a granola bar. Earlier this week, I was asked to reflect on what nature means to me. And when the question came up, I was like, easy, no problem. It's not like I spend all my free time in the woods or anything. But as I started to really ponder this question, the first thing that came to my mind was my ready answers to the tell me about yourself and what do you like to do in your free time intro questions. It seemed as though going outside had become just a personality trait for me. And don't get me wrong, I don't think this is inherently a bad thing. I love nature, and being outside so much that is a personality trait makes me incredibly happy. But getting to the point where I no longer thought about where I would spend my free time and just automatically going outside caused me to lose the why. Going outside became an instinct, a habit, and something I did no matter what. And that's why this reflection was so impactful for me. I remember that before nature became a personality trait, it was my place of solitude and escape. The great outdoors is where I could go when I was relaxed or excited, nervous or frustrated, or just needed to process life. Going outside helped me forget, even temporarily, the stresses of everyday life and recharge in a way that I couldn't anywhere else. As I dug even deeper, I also realized how integral nature is to my faith. One of the most important questions I've ever been asked about my beliefs is why. Why do you believe what you believe? The answer that I always turn to is the great outdoors. I scaled mountains and I hiked the Grand Canyon. I've seen the magnitude of the ocean and witnessed the splendor of Midwest sunrises. And that's where I ground my faith in God. I know different people hold different perspectives on this, but to me, the awesomeness of creation screams for the existence of a creator. The splendor of nature is my reason to search for a force that's greater than ourselves. This Earth Day, I encourage you to reflect on what nature means to you. And if you're as crunchy as a granola bar, as I apparently am, I encourage you to reflect even more so. When going outside becomes commonplace, it's a wonderful thing, but it's all too easy to lose sight of what drove us outside in the first place. I want to wish all of you a very, very happy Earth Day, and I hope tomorrow provides you with a few moments to ponder what nature really means to you. Thank you.
Ora ragazzi, ciao, devo scegliere il cibo di Viva da nella cittadina Viva da nella cittadina. Insieme con anche la scelta per la cittadina di Samantha. Come cittadini, we are watching the much of the cittadina Kenya has happened to much of the show. 시선 como 하지 않다가 나가 친구가 가거든요. When I had an answer, I was there, na, everything was Samantha. Dartmouth, Alabama, 2024, about to finish. Hello, everybody. My name is Kendra. I'll be back or Kendra to talk on TikTok. My recorded name is
Amijosh or lovely feminine woman. I come from the land of the revitalization of the Sitongo Kokoyate, which is part of the even greater nation, the Untitled Chapter or the Southern Council Waters. Federally recognized as the Elizabeth Sea Tribe, located in South Central South Florida. But currently, I am occupying event one or event culture. And I'm very happy to see each and every one of you today. Chanda Varsana, she got the news. I greet each and every one of you with a warm heart, one handshake, just a nice greeting. And when she will call, is I wish each and every one of you a happy birthday. When she will call is the local construction for Earth. So Uchi means grandmother, and Maka is Earth. You have to get that over, Maka, or if you just say Maka, it means skunk. So, and I am here today to read a poem. It is not my poem, from this collection of indigenous or Native American poets called New Poets of Native Vision, edited by Heidi E. Erdrich, which is, I believe, the little sister of Louise Erdrich. Question mark? Okay. The poem is called Earthlings, and it is by Janet McAdams, who is of the Muscogee Nation, one of the 6 civilized tribes, I think. I'm not so much in Earthling. That winter, that warm winter, no one wanted to be ordinary. We sat on a pile of plastic, threatened as a farm where the dog was tied up barking. Land, we meant to say sorry. We are so sorry. To the red dirt of her body, we meant to say meats or dirty water. We meant to say before our bones became lace, before we had to lean forward to swallow. You remember how the story goes. We came in peace. To tell that to the drop of water trying to leave it. And that's all. What did I after what you call here? Have a good night. Thank you very much for listening.
And so now, going a little bit rogue, I'm calling on anyone here who feels inspired, who feels brave enough to be vulnerable. If they would like to come share their stories, it's not good for people. Okay, yeah.
Hola. I'm Ivan, hopefully y'all can hear me good. I'm from Arapahoe Territory, Denver, Colorado. I'll tell my kind story. So I remember when I was 5 years old, I was in Mexico. I was in my mother's arms. It was late into the night. One of the most magical experiences that I remember in my childhood was feeling my mother's heartbeat those late nights in the hospital, because I remember I would miss her for 3, 4, 5 days, because I would have to be taken away for the doctors to treat this indescribable illness that came from the factories and the small, rapidly industrializing nation of our originally native land of Puerto Mexico. That smog clogged up my lungs so much that I couldn't spend time with my family. My mother and father had to work more than 8 hours a day. My younger brother didn't have a home to go to. I felt like a burden at the age of 6 years old. I didn't want to continue. Seeing my mother cry, never seeing my father, seeing my brother go at home because my parents couldn't take care of him. I felt bad. Just I didn't know what to do. I just, hugged my mother. He did okay. I can't do this anymore. I want to be normal. I want to be a kid. I want to play with my cousins and kick a soccer ball around. I want to run in the streets and be able to breathe. And my mother took it upon herself to take us to the United States. My brother and I got here when I was 10, and we started working. And I recovered, but I lost the land that I grew up in. I lost the family in Mexico. I lost my culture and my heritage. And I still feel like I'm not complete. The United States took a lot from us. Seeing Adam Toledo lose his life, like my cousin Hector lost his life, at the hands of a policeman who just don't respect us. I'm tired of us not having a future. I'm tired of us not being able to breathe. So all this to say, my climate story, I just want to be able to go back to Mexico. I want to be able to see my family and say hi to them. I want to play soccer with my cousins, the ones that I lost to violence and territorial disputes. Yeah, I want to give everyone the right to breathe, and that's what I'm here. Thank you.
Alrighty, if anyone else is feeling like they're up to share, and if not, that's okay, and then I'll start with my closing remarks. Alright, so, hi everyone, first off, I just wanted to say, thank you. Thank you not only for just being here physically or virtually, but for giving your emotional time and energy to be here, with us today, and to make emotional space for this event. There are no words to describe just how thankful me and everyone from Sunrise, from the Sustainability Office, from the Tucker Center, there are no words to describe just how thankful we are that you are here with us today. And I just want to give a special shout out to our speakers, because it takes incredible bravery to be vulnerable. And y'all are vulnerable and honest with us today. First, I just want to start off with a quote from Carl Sagan. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. And so, describing a photo of Earth taken from spacecraft Voyager 1, he said, "Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human who ever was, lived out their lives on that dot. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in some heat." So everyone who came in, I'm just going to ask you to take the stone that you were given,
Just hold it in your hand. Holly and I collected it from the group yesterday, and each of them is different in their own way. Take a second to look at its colors, to feel the texture of its ridges, its weight in your palm. Think of what these stones represent, formed by the seemingly magical chemistry of crystal formation, weathered by centuries of the Connecticut's life-giving flow. Maybe that stone was deposited by a glacier. Maybe it was hewn by the original Benedictine stewards of this land. It may have been in that same spot in Mead Brook for millennia before it was collected, or landed in that position yesterday. That's the beauty of our planet, right? That it's so enormously massive and interconnected and complex, and yet so beautifully small and fragile that you can literally hold it in your palm. This stone, in all of its ordinary but precious uniqueness, serendipitously ended up in your hand. Take a minute to meditate on this. Close your eyes if you'd like. Just take a few moments to breathe, pray. And so I bring back your attention because that's what we want you to take away from tonight. That even though the fight seems never ending, the clouds loom too heavy overhead, it is an absolute miracle of chance that we're here. The world is a place of wonder, no matter who or what you believe in. And we, by nature of being here, are entrusted to love it, and by extension, love each other. We dare to hope and dream and fight for a better future, one that we can proudly pass on to upcoming generations, because we understand how lucky we are to be here in the first place. We have the opportunity to love a perfect sunrise over Mount Cardigan, to love the laughter of friends in a college basement, to appreciate the beauty in an ordinary Mead Brook stone. So let's do it. Let's honor the light within each other and our planet, acknowledge the weight of the trauma we have endured and continue to suffer, and create a just and equitable future for ourselves and the planet we're on. Take this stone with you as a reminder that you too are just as uniquely made and original. To remember the journey that you yourself have undergone. Keep the stone as a reminder, or put it back in Connecticut if you'd like. Just make sure that you remember that you and every other thing on this pale blue dot matter. Thank you so much for coming. Have a lovely evening.
Can we get a round of applause for Solange, please? So good. Another round of applause for all our speakers tonight. We are so grateful for you all. And I'd like to give a special thank you to the Earth Day Committee 2021, who's been working super hard behind the scenes, the Tucker Center and Sustainability Office for sponsoring and supporting this event. And thank you to all of you again for being here. We really appreciate sharing the space with you. And just some quick plugs about Earth Day, how you can go forward remembering that you matter and that this place matters, as Solange was saying so gracefully. There is going to be, or still will be a couple of ways to get involved. And you can follow us on Instagram. Sorry, that sounds like a very commercial plug to Solange's beautiful meditation with, but
just in terms of staying involved and making sure that we carry forward this momentum and just the emotions tonight. Yeah, and we're also gonna be circulating a letter to hold the Dartmouth administration accountable for making this earth livable, which, as we've heard tonight from a lot of our speakers, is really central to what we're trying to do here. So just keep your eyes out. I won't say much more to take away from this moment, but again, so grateful to all you guys for being here. And yeah, have a lovely rest of your evening. Happy Earth Day Eve.
Oh.